of Jerusalem. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophetess, and all the people, both small and great, and read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord. そこで王は人を使わしてユダとエルサレムの長老にことごとく集めた。そして王はユダの諸々の人々とエルサレムのすべての住民を呼び、祭司預言者並び大小のすべての民に従えて、シノ宮に登り、シノ宮で見つかった契約の言葉をことごとく彼に読み聞かせた。And the king stood by the pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart, with their soul, to perform the words of the covenant that were written in the book. And all the people stood to the covenant. ついで王は下の傍らに立って死の前に敬をがられて死に従って歩み、心を尽くして精神を尽くしてシモンやシュエと証とサラメとを守り、書物に記されているこの契約の言葉を行うことを誓った。民は皆その契約に加わった。And the king appointed Hilkiah the high priest and the priests of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord the vessels that were made for Baal, for the grove, and for all the hosts of heaven. And he returned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes unto Bethel. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the hosts of heaven. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord without Jerusalem unto the brook of Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the children of the people. And he brake down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, where the women grove hangings for the grove. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests burned incense from Geba to Beersheba, and brake down the high places to the gates that were in the entering of the gates of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on the man's left hand to the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat of unleavened bread among the brethren. And he defiled Topeth, which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or daughter pass through the fire to Molech. And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the sun at the entering in of the house of the Lord by the chamber Nathamelech, the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and burned the chariots, the sun with fire. And the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars wherewith Manasseh had made the two courts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down, and break them down from thence, and cast dust of them into the brook Kidron. And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the Mount of Corruption, which Solomon king of Israel had builded, the Asheroth and the abomination of the Zidonians, and the Chemosh were the abominations of the Moabites, and Milcom the abomination of the children of Ammon, did the king defile. And he brake down in pieces the images, go and cut down their groves, and filled their places with the bones of men. こうして王は大祭司イルキアとそれに次ぐ祭司たちを呼び、門を守る者どもに命じて、主の神殿からバールとアシュラの天の晩鐘のために作った諸々の器を取り出させ、エルサレムの外ギレオンの町でそれを焼き、その灰ベテルに持って行かせた。またユダの町々とエルサレムの周囲にある高いところで香を焚くためにユダの王たちが任命した祭司たちを廃し、またバールのと火と次と聖職と天の晩鐘とに香を焚く者どもを廃した。彼らはまたシノ宮からアシュタ像を取り出し、エルサレムの外ギレロン川に持って行って、ギレロン川でそれを焼き、それを打ち砕いて粉とし、その粉を民の墓に投げ捨てた。またシノ宮にあった神殿壇章の家を壊した。それは女がアシュタ像のために掛け幕を折るところであった。また彼はまたユダの町々から祭司をことごとく召し寄せ、また祭司が香を焚いたゲバからベールシバまで高きところを汚し、また門にある高きところを壊した。これらの高きところの町の司、ヨシュアの門の入り口にあり、町の門に 入る人の左にあった。高いところの祭司たちは、エルサレムで主の祭壇に登ることはしなかった。その兄弟たちのうちにあって、種入れるパンを食べた。王はまた、誰ももうその息子、娘を火に焼いて、モレクに捧げ物とすることのないように、ベンヒノムの谷にあるトベテを汚した。またユダの王たちが太陽に捧げて、主の宮の門に置いた馬を、境内にある、侍従ナタメレクの部屋の傍らに移し、太陽の車を火で焼いた。また、ユダの王たちは、アーズの高殿の屋上に作った祭壇とマナセやシノミヤの二つの庭に作った祭壇を壊して、これを打ち砕き、砕けたものをキレの川に投げ捨てた。また、王はイスラエルの王ソロモンが昔、シロン人の憎むべきアシタロテとモアブ人の憎むべきもの、ケモツとアンモンの人々の憎むべきもの、ミルコムのために、またエルサレムの東、滅亡の山の南に築いた高きところを汚した。また、諸々の石柱を打ち壊し、アシタ像を切り倒し、人の骨を持ってそのところを満たした。Moreover, the altar that was in Bethel and the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nabat, who made Israel to sin, had made both the altar and the high place break down, burned the high place and stamped it in a grove small to powder, and burned the grove. As Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were in the mount, and sent and took bones out of the sepulchres and burned them upon the altar and polluted it, according to a word of the Lord which the man of God proclaimed. For he proclaimed these words. And then he said, What title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, It's the sepulchre of the man of God, which came from Judah, and proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, Let him alone, let no man move his bones. Say, let his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria. And all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger, Josiah took away. And he did to them according to all the acts that were done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places that were there upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. 15から20。また、ベテルにある祭壇とエスタイノに罪を犯させたネバデの子ヤラベアムが作った高きところ、すなわちその祭壇と高きところを彼は壊し、その石を打ち砕いて粉とし、かつアシュラ像を焼いた。そしてヨアシは身を巡らして山に墓のあるのを見、人を使わしてその墓から骨を取らせ、それをその祭壇の上で焼いて、背を汚した。昔、神の人が主の言葉として、そのことを弱り告げたが、その通りになった。その時、ヨアシは、あそこに見える、石は何かと尋ねた。町の人々が彼に、あれはあなたがベテルの祭壇に対して行われること、これらのことを、イラから来て予言した神の人の墓ですと言ったので、彼は言った。そのままにしておきなさい。誰もその骨を移してはならない。それで、その骨とサマリアから来た預言者の骨には手をつけなかった。また、イスラエルの王たちがサマリアの町々に作って、死を怒らせた高きところの家も皆ヨアシは取り除いて、彼がしたすべてベテルに移ったようにこれに行った。彼はまたそこにあった高きところの祭司たちの皆祭壇の上で殺し、人の骨を祭壇の上で焼いた。こうして彼はエルサレムに帰った。And the king commanded all the people, saying, Keep the Passover unto the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of the covenant. Surely there was not holden such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor all the days of the kings of Israel, nor the kings of Judah, but in the 18th year of the king Josiah, wherein the Passover was holden to the Lord in Jerusalem. そして主はすべての民に命じて、あなたはこの契約の書に記されているように、あなた方の神、主に水越しの祭りを 取り行いなさいと言った。裁き司がイスラエルを裁いた日からこの方またイスラエルの王たちとイラの王たちの世にもこのような水越しの祭りを取り行ったことはなかった。ヨアシのこの第18年にエルサレムでこの水越しの祭りを主に取り行ったのである。Moreover, the workers with the familiar spirits, the wizard, and all the images and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law, which are written in the book of Hilkiah the priest, found in the house of the Lord. And like unto him, there was no king before him, and turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses. Neither after him arose any like him. Notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith anger was kindled against Judah, because all of the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, will cast off this city Jerusalem, which I have chosen, in the house which I have said, my name shall be there. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In the days Pharaoh and Necho, king of Egypt, went against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo, where he had seen him. And the servants carried him a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in the sepulchre. Buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Joaz, the king of Josiah, anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. And Joaz, the 23 years old, when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamalah, the daughter of Jeremiah Libnah. He did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Menach put him in the bands of Riblah in the hands of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and 100 talents of gold. And Pharaoh Menach made Alkiam the son of Josiah king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Joaz away. And he came to Egypt and died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver of gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give to the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacts the silver and the gold of the people of the land, everyone according to taxation, to give it Pharaoh Nebuch. And Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name is Zebudah, and the daughter Penuel of Remnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. ヨアシュはまた祭司ヒルキヤが主の宮で見つけた書物に記されている律法の言葉を確実に行うために、藤寄せと占い師とテラピムと偶像を呼び、イラの地とエルサレムに見られる諸々の憎むべきものを取り除いた。ヨアシュのように心を尽くし、聖人を尽くし、力を尽くしてモーセのすべての一方に従い、主より頼んだ王は、ヨアシュの先にはなく、また後にも彼のようなものは行わなかった。けれども、主はなおイラに向かって発せられた激しい大いなる怒りをやめられなかった。これはマナセが諸々の正しい行いをもって主を怒らせたためである。それゆえ、主に言われた。私はイスラエルを移したように、イランも私の目の前から移し、私が選んだこのエルサレムの町と、私の名をそこに置こうと言ったこの宮と捨てるであろう。ヨアシはその他の実績と他を行ったすべてのことは、イラの王の歴代史の書に記されているではないか。ヨアシのようにエジプトをパロ、猫がアシアの王のところへ行こうと、ユフライテ川を刺して登ってきたので、ヨアシュ王は彼を迎え撃とうと出て行ったが、パロ猫は彼を見ると、メギドにおいて彼を殺した。その家来たちは彼の死体を車に乗せ、メギドからエルサレムに運んで彼の墓に葬った。国の民はヨアシの子エホアズを立てて、彼に油を注ぎ、王として父に代わらせた。エホアズの王となった時、23歳でエルサレムが3ヶ月の間、世を治めた。母はリブナのエレミアの娘で、名をハムタルと言った。エホアズは戦争たちがすべて行ったように、人の目の前で悪を行ったが、パロ猫は彼をハマテの地、リブナらにつないでおいて、エルサレムで世を治めることはできないようにした。また 100タラントと金1タラントの水木を国に貸した。そしてパロネコはヨアシの子エルヤキムを父ヨアシに代わって王とならせ、なおエホヤキムと改め、エホヤキアズをエジプトへ引いて行かれた。エホアズはエジプトへ行ってそこで死んだ。エホアキムは金をパロに送った。しかし彼はパロの命に従って金を送るために国に税を課し、国の民のおのおのからその課税に従って金銀を厳しく取り立てて、これをパロネコに送った。エホヤキムの25歳で王となり、エルサレムで11年の間を治めた。母はルマのペタヤの娘で、なおゼビダと言った。エホヤキムは先祖たちがすべて行ったように、主の目の前に悪を行った。In the days of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him, and the Lord sent against him the bands of Chaldeans and bands of Syrians and the bands of the Moabites and the bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servants and the prophets. Surely at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah to remove out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh according to all that he did, also for the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim his son reigned in his stead. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river of the Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. And Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nemshitah, the daughter of Elthanan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At that time the servants of Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came up against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim the son of the king of Judah went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of the gold which Solomon king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of Valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. And he carried away Jehoiakim the king of Babylon, and the king's wives and his officers and his mighty of the land, and those carried into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon, and all the men of might, even 7,000 craftsmen and smiths thousands, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Menete his father a brother king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name is Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. He did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For through the anger of the Lord, it came to pass in Jerusalem and in Judah, until he cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. エホヤキムのようにバビロンの王ネベカネズルが登ってきたので、エホヤキムは彼に隷属して3年経たが、ついに翻って彼に背き、カレリア人の略奪隊、スイア人の略奪隊、アブ人の略奪隊、アンモン人の略奪隊を使わして、ホヤキムを攻められた。すなわちユダを攻め、これを攻めすために彼を使わされた。主はそのしもべである預言者たちによって語られた言葉の通りである。これは全く主の命によってユダに臨んだもので、ユダの主の目の前から払い除くためであった。すなわちマナセがすべて行ったその罪のため、また彼が罪なき人の血を流し、罪なき人の血をエルサレムに満たしたためであって、主はその罪を許されることはなかった。エホヤキムのその他の実績と彼を行ったすべてのことは、ユダの王の歴代書の書に記されているではないか。エホヤキムは先祖たちと共に眠り、その子、エホヤキンが代わって王となった。エジプトの王は再びその国から出てこなかった。バビロンの王がエジプトの川からイフライテ 側まですべてエジプトの王に属するものを取ったからである。エホヤキンは王となった時、18歳でエルサレムで3ヶ月の間を治めた。母はエルサレムのエルナタンの娘で、名をネホシタと言った。エホヤキンはすべて父の行ったように人の目の前でよく行った。その頃バビロンの王ネベカネザルが家来たちはエルサレムに攻め上って町を囲んだ。その家来たちが町を囲んでいたとき、バビロンの王ネベカネザルもまた町を攻めてきた。ユダの王エホヤキンはその領勢を出てバビロンの王に降伏したので、バビロンの王は彼を捕虜とした。これはネベカネザルの地帯の第8年であった。彼はまた、シノミヤの諸々の宝物を呼び、王の家の宝物をごとごとく持ち出して、イスラエルの王ソロモンが作って、主の神殿に置いた諸々の金の器を切り壊した。主は言われた通りである。また、彼はまた、エルサレムのすべての市民を呼び、すべての司とすべての勇士、並びにすべての木工の家事、1万人を捕らえていった。残った者は民の貧しい者のみであった。さらに彼はエホヤキンをバビロンに捕らえて行き、また王の母、王の妻たち及び侍従のうちの主な人々もエルサレムからバビロンへ捕らえていった。またバビロンの王は勇敢の者7000人、木工の家事1000人並び、強くて戦う者を皆捕らえてバビロンへ連れて行った。そしてバビロン王はエホヤキンの父の兄弟マッタニアの王としてエホヤキンに代わった。なおエゼキヤと改めた。エゼキヤは21歳で王となり、エルサレムで11年の間を治めた。母リブナのエルサレムの娘で、なおハムたると言った。エゼキヤはすべてエホヤキムが行ったように人目の前で悪を行った。エルサレムとイラニのようなことを行ったのは主の怒りによるので、主はついに彼らを前から払い捨てられた。さて、エゼキヤはバビロンの王に背いた。And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came, he and all his hosts against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts against it round about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. And the city was broken up, and the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were about against the city round about, and the king went the way towards the plain. And the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon and Ribnah, and they gave judgment upon them. And they slew Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the king of Zedekiah, and bound him with fetters and brass, and carried him to Babylon. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which the 9th year of the king of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuchadnezzar, captain of the guard, servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burned the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans were with the captain of the guard, and broke down the walls of Jerusalem round about. Now the rest of the people that were left in the city, and the fugitives that fell away to the king of Babylon, with the remnant of the multitude, did Nebuchadnezzar and the captain of the guard carry away. But the captain of the guard left the poor of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen. And the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, the brass of the brazen sea that was in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldeans break in pieces, and carried the brass of them to Babylon. And the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the spoons and all the vessels of the brass wherewith they ministered, they took they away. And the fire pans and the bowls, such things were of gold, in gold, and silver, of silver, in silver. And the captain of the guard took away 2 pillars of the sea, and the brasses which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the brass of all the vessels without weight. And the height of one pillar was 18 cubits, and the chapiter upon it was brass, and the height of the chapiter 3 cubits, in the reddened work, and the pomegranates upon the chapiter round about. All of the brass like unto these had the second pillar with wreath and work. And the captain of the guard took Zephaniah, the chief priest of Zephaniah, the second priest, and 3 keepers of the door. Out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, 5 men of them that were in the king's presence, which were found in the city, and the principal scribe of the host, which mustered the people of the land, 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. And Nebuchadnezzar, captain of the guard, took these and brought them to Babylon and Ribnah. And the king of Babylon smote them and slew them at Ribnah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away out of their land. And for the people that remained in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon had left, even over them made Geldilah the son of Ahikam the son of Shephaniah ruler. And when all the captains of the armies and they and all their men heard that the king of Babylon had made Geladiah governor, there came to Geladiah to Mizpah, even Ishmael the son of Nethaliah, Jonathan the son of Kariah, and Sarai the son of Tanumbumtha, and the Nephirite, and the Jazaniah, the son of the Maccathite, and they and their men. And Geladiah sware to them, to their men, and said unto them, Fear not to be the servants of the Chaldeans, dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But it came to pass in the 7th month of Ishmael, the son of Nethalah, the son of Elshama, of the seed royale, came 10 men with him, and smote Geladiah, that he died, and the Jews of the Chaldees, which were with him at Mizpah. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies, arose and came to Egypt for they were afraid of the Chaldees. And it came to pass in the 7th and 13th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim king of Judah, in the 12th month of the 7th and 20th day of the month, that Evamordar king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did lift up the head of Jehoiakim king of Judah out of prison. And he spake kindly to him, and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon. And he changed his prison garments, and he did not eat bread, nor continually before him all the days of his life. And his allowance was a continual allowance given to him of the king, a daily rate of every day, all the days of his life. そこで、ゼレキヤの地帯の第9年の10月10日にバビロンの王ネベカネズは諸々の軍勢を率い、エルサレムに来てこれに向かって陣を張り、周囲に砦を築いてこれを攻めた。こうして町は囲まれてゼレキヤ王の第11年にまで及んだが、その4月9日になって、町のうちに飢饉が激しくなり、そのうちの民に食物がなくなった。町の一角がついに破れたので、王はすべての勇士とともに、王の園の傍らにある2つの城壁の間の門に道から夜のうちに逃げ出して、カルディア人が町を囲んでいる間に、アラバの方へ落ち延びた。しかし、カルディア人の軍勢は王を追い、エリコの平地で彼に追いついた。彼の軍勢は皆彼を離れて散り去ったので、カルディア人は王を捕らえ、彼をリブネにあるバビロンの王のもとへ引いて行って、彼の罪を定め、ヘゼキヤの子たちをゼレキヤの目の前で殺し、ゼレキヤの目をえぐり、足かせをかけてバビロンへ連れて行った。バビロンの王ネベカネズルの第19年の5月7日にバビロンの王の陣、自衛の長ネベカネズルがエルサレムに来て、シノミアの王との家とエルサレムのすべての家を焼いた。すなわち火をもってすべての大きな家を焼いた。また自衛の長とともにカルディア人のすべての軍勢はエルサレムの周囲の城壁を破壊した。そして自衛の長ネベカネズル団は町に残された民及びバビロン王に降伏した者と残りの軍師を捕らえ移した。ただし自衛の長はその他の貧しい者を残してブドウを作る者とし農夫とした。カルディア人はシノミアの聖堂の足とシノミアの先般の台と聖堂の海を砕いて、その聖堂をバビロンに運び、また壺と銃能と小頃切りばさみとコウモリザルおよびすべて神殿の染めに用いる聖堂の器、またシンドリ皿と鉢を取り去った。自衛の長また金で作ったものと銀を作ったものを取り去った。ソロモンがシノミヤのために作った2つの足と1つの海の先端の台など、これらの諸々の器の聖堂の重さは測ることはできなかった。一つの足の高さは18キュービットで、その上に聖堂の中東があり、中東の高さは30キュービットで、中東の周囲に網細工と座黒があって、皆聖堂であった。他の足も そのアザミグもそれと同じであった。自衛の長は最初、ヒラヤと、自責の祭司、ゼパニアと3人のも守る者を捕らえ、また兵士の司る1人の役人と王の前にあべる者のうち、町で見つかった者5人とその地の集った軍政の長の書記官と町で見つかったその地の、民60人をからの町から捕らえ去った。自衛の長ネベカネズル団は彼らを捕らえてリブナにあるバビロン王のもとへ連れて行ったので、バビロン王はハマテの地のリブナで彼を撃ち殺した。このようにして、イラはその地から捕らえを伝えた。さて、バビロン王ネベカネズルはイラの地に残してとどまらせた民の上に、シャバンの子、アヒカムの子である、ゲラリアンを立てて総督とした。時に軍政の長たちを呼び、部下の人々はバビロンの王が、ゲラリアンの総督したことを聞いて、ミズバにいるゲラリアのもとに来た。すなわち、ネタニアの子、イシュマルはカルディアの子、ヨハナン、ネトバ、ビト、タウンポメンテの子、ヒラや、マーカビトの子、ヤザニア及び部下の人々のケラリアのもとに来た。ゲラリアのは彼らとその部下の人々に誓っていった。あなた方は、カルディア人のしもべとなることを恐れてはならない。この地に住んでバビロンの王に仕えなさい。そうすれば、あなた方は幸福を得るでしょう。ところが、7月になって王の血統、エリシャマの子であるネタニアの子、イシュマエルは10人の者と共に来て、ケラリアを撃ち殺し、また彼らと共にミツバにいたイラ人とカルディア人を殺した。そのため、大小の民を呼び、軍政の長たちは皆立ってエジプトへ行った。彼らカルディア人を恐れたからである。イラの王、エホヤキンが捕らえを伝えて、後37年の12月27日、すなわちバビロンのエビメロダの地帯、第一年に王はユダの王、エホヤキンの極屋から出して、年頃に彼を慰め、その位を彼と共にバビロンにいる王たちの位より高くした。こうしてエホヤキンはその極屋の衣を脱ぎ、一生の間常に王の前で食事をした。彼は一生の間絶えず日々の分を王から賜って、それを食物とした。